I finally got Heath to escape for a few days, kid-free, to go to Arizona to get some stuff. We're going to go see his brother, Southern Arizona. No.
We're going to go to Snowflake.
Snowflake first.
We're going to go to Southern Arizona. Then we're going to loop back around and see both my family and Cedar's family, and then hightail it back up here. We're going to spend 5 days down there, but 2 of those days we will be driving. So we will spend probably in the neighborhood of about 30 hours in the car.
Are you so excited? You're going to be stuck with me for 15 hours straight.
With no earbuds. No earbuds.
No earbuds? Okay, I'm going to hold you to that. No earbuds.
I haven't been back to Queen Creek, Gilbert, since we moved. So this is the first time. Cedar's been back a couple times. We're going to stop and see her grandmother down there in Southern Arizona since her grandmother passed away. So it should be a really fun trip.
Grandpa.
Since her
My grandpa passed away.
That's what I said.
You said grandmother.
Here we go. 30 hours. This video is sponsored by Ariat. Let me first give you our direction of travel and explain what you're seeing as we make our way down to Snowflake, Arizona, and then Southern Arizona, and ultimately why we're making this trip. The idea of doing this all started after having a conversation with my little brother. He had something that I wanted, and he asked for my help putting a lift on his new truck. And while he almost never asks for anything, it was a weak excuse to go see him and then see a few others that I hadn't seen in over 5 years. We really didn't tell that many people that we were making this trip, mainly because it was going to be a quick trip. But we chose to drive across Utah, then northeastern Arizona, first dropping into Snowflake, and along the way watching the snow disappear and seeing the red rocks that we'd grown to love so much. We drove through Holbrook, Arizona long enough to see some of the favorite sights, and then got to Snowflake as quick as we could. There were 2 significant things that both Cedar and I wanted to see in Snowflake. First, the last house that we owned in Arizona. And second, the piece of land that we thought would be the last piece of property we would ever own. This is the property. This piece of land belonged to Cedar's great-grandfather. This is the last house that we owned in Arizona. We saw a few people that we knew we had to see, and then took off to spend a couple days with my little brother in Southern Arizona. Now, truthfully, my little brother probably could have done this without me, so I worked alongside him to put this lift on his new truck. It didn't take anywhere near as long as we thought it would, which left more room for us to sit and talk, which naturally reminded me how important my siblings are to me. But my little brother's probably my best friend. While the worst fights I've ever been in my life were with him. Ironically, he's probably the first person I would call if I was ever in trouble. But after getting his truck all fancied up, he's got me jealous for a new truck. For now, I'll have to live vicariously through him. We then left his home and drove down to Cedar's grandparents' house. Now, this particular place has influenced me more than I probably recognize as far as doing things on our own, doing things our way, and building our own house. Over 20 years ago, I met Cedar's grandfather for the first time, and he explained to me that he'd cast every adobe brick for his Santa Fe style home and built the home nearly entirely by himself. As a 21-year-old kid, you better believe this influenced me. Cedar's grandfather passed away a few months back, and Cedar's grandmother has taken control of the house. And truthfully, I'm not sure if the house has ever looked so good. I don't recall it ever being quite so organized. While many of the family members have played a major role in helping this come to pass, it was hard for me not to reminisce about the good old days as we walk around and observed a lifetime of things collected by Cedar's grandfather that are now being handed down to many of the other family members. We then headed down to the East Valley of the Metro Phoenix area. We stopped long enough to see a couple of my nephews and his little dachshund puppies that I tried desperately to talk Cedar into adding to our herd, which she gracefully helped me realize we're not ready for. We then went to my older brother's house and ate an incredible meal that was prepared in his homemade pizza oven. We were able to spend about a day and a half with Cedar's parents and her side of the family before heading north. The average temperature in the Metro Phoenix area at that time was about 75 degrees. I didn't even bring a coat with me. One of the lingering questions that I wondered if Cedar and or myself would have as we drove through all these places that are so strongly tied to our past was whether or not we felt like we needed to be back in that area, whether it was Snowflake or the East Valley. And the answer is that regardless of these connections that we have to these places, we recognize that our home in Idaho is where we're supposed to be, and we couldn't wait to get back there, even though we had to fight a snowstorm to get home. There you are, you dang dog. All right, we got home late last night, middle of a snowstorm, and while it was awesome hanging out with family and friends down in Arizona for 5 days, technically, minus driving, there's just a ton of stuff to do now up here. Water tank is nearly empty. There's probably 5 inches of fresh snow. You can see the side-by-sides up there on the trailer. That was probably the main purpose of the trip. I was able to pick up a couple of side-by-sides. So I've got to get the water hooked up real quick, get the water going. Cheyenne ran the place while we were gone, and while we kept in touch with her every day, she did a wonderful job taking care of Reed and Callie, and Rhett helped as well. But in the back of my head, I knew that every day that went by, there was a little bit less water in the water tank. And although I had everything set up, so all that Rhett had to do was fire up the old generator, I still worried. We wanted to be home with our kids. Now, the last time that Cedar and I went somewhere without our kids was about 7 years ago. Come here, Bandit. I'm a bit of a homebody, especially now that we live where we live and we have what we have. We do not seem to have the same desire to escape the life that we live on a daily basis, regardless of the challenges. We love our home. I was able to pick up 2 different side-by-sides, but the one I wanted most is the 6-wheeled side-by-side on the back of my trailer. The 6-wheeled side-by-side is all-wheel drive, and it will get me to the places on the back of our property where I am anticipating getting very soon. Both of these side-by-sides need a little bit of work. The red side-by-side runs, but more than likely needs a new belt. But again, like I said, my focus was on the 6-wheeler and how quick I can get it on the road and get it prepared to go to work. I think we'll fix the red one up for Cedar. Maybe I'll put a small snow plow on the 6-wheeler. But you better believe that both of these side-by-sides will come in handy as the snow melts. My truck ran great all the way down there. I had a little bit of work done to my truck right before we left, which took the horsepower from about 160, which is what this truck was stock, to somewhere between 300 and 400 horsepower. You better believe the truck ran the hills without any issues. There was about 7 inches of new snow. You can't tell from the camera quality, but after making a couple passes up and down the road, we were back in business. It's getting surprisingly warm. The snow is melting. We pulled up a video from this time last year, and we had about twice as much snow as we have now. I'm not sure if we're out of the woods just yet, but like I said, it's been above freezing every single day, which is causing the snow to melt off quite fast. The weather was decent, so I wanted to get on the 6x6 and see what it was going to take to get it running. As far as I know, it's been over 2 years, probably closer to 3 years since it's ran, and it obviously needs a new set of tires as well. The front 2 tires were towed in, but after inspecting the rack and pinion, I could see that it had the wrong tie rod ends, so I made a few modifications, got it back together, and for the most part it was pretty square. I was able to find 4 brand new takeoffs from another side-by-side that fit perfectly, so now I just need to pick up 2 more tires. Now I would love to run out and buy a brand new side-by-side that has no issues and more than likely has quite a bit more horsepower than this one, but we don't do payments, we don't do debt. So if this means that I've got to work on stuff to get it where it's usable, it is what it is. We're okay with this. We would rather have the freedom that comes from living without debt than a brand new side-by-side that every time I look at, I'm reminded of how much I owe on it. After doing a little bit of investigative work, it was obvious it needed a brand new battery, but the gas smelled okay, and there was almost no gas in the carburetor. For that reason, all I had to do was fill it up, get the electric fuel pump broke free, and it basically fired right up. I was shocked. As you can see with Rhett driving it, the front tires are still a little bit towed in. We've since adjusted that and resolved this problem. Callie, Reed, and myself made a few passes up and down the road just to make sure everything was fine. Okay, so I have 6 weeks before your parents and your sister show up. So I would say, again, obvious stuff.
Paint.
Downstairs paint. Okay, that's probably priority number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Doors and baseboard. Just trim.
Just trim. And doors and baseboard?
Put in parentheses doors and baseboard. Okay, we need to make some decisions on the stair rail. That's pretty high on the priority list. Finish the stair treads. Then once all the little stuff is done, paint and everything, the last thing we have to do is acid wash, stain the concrete. The bathroom, upstairs bathroom tub surround needs to go on that list. I need to finish the brick around the laundry countertop.
What, the brick around in the laundry backsplash?
Yeah, I want to do a little brick only like that high around the.
That'd be cute. We haven't talked about that. I didn't know you were gonna do that.
And then the fireplace. If this is the list of everything that needs to be finished inside the fireplace, the brick around the fireplace has to be done.
And I'd probably want to do that before you do the floor too.
Huh?
Brick, backsplash, and laundry.
You know, there's little things. I want to fix the door seal in the back and the front door too, but I don't know if it needs to be. Might as well put it on the list. Is there anything else you want to add? A dishwasher. Put the dishwasher.
First,
Sure.
I don't have to wash dishes, then I have more time to help you paint. Privacy film on pantry.
Pantry.
That's easy. That's just a matter of
Yeah, there's
sitting down
a
and
few of
figuring it
these
out.
things that'll go real fast, but anything else you want to add to it?
No, mostly stuff I want to do is just like clean the windows, the screens, get the stickers off, fix that screen with the cat.
Okay,
keys
so
in.
nothing else to add to this?
We don't have to put firewood on here. You shocked about
That's
that?
right.
Firewood.
So anything else? So what's number one priority?
Dishwasher.
Really? Monday?
That won't take
Okay.
take long at all. Well, that's not even real
So
work.
paint?
That's paint. I think the paint.
Downstairs paint?
And I would like the door on underneath the thing.
Okay. What about blinds?
Blinds. How did we forget blinds? Are you gonna put it right here?
Sure.
It's out of whack now, but it
That's
looks
really
like a
all that
list.
I can think of. Then everything else is outside.
Oops. Does that count?